This is how we do it. We've got Robyn D'Angelo, who I can't stop thinking about this song whenever I think of this episode. She is showing you how to do it, how to sit in circle, and how to create magic with women's circles. She does a great presentation sharing about the history of women's circles and how to really bring this into your life, bring this experience into your life, as well as the offerings that she does for women sitting in circle. So please have a listen. I am so honored to bring this episode to you today from one of our holistic healers of Orange County. And thank you so much for listening to the Sage Holistic Show.
Sage is a 501c3 nonprofit organization building community by providing education and counseling about physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We encourage all of our listeners to find their own path to what holistic wellness means to you.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, Emily. It's such an honor to be here on this side of things. It's been a while since I've been part of this group. I'm just really excited to speak to you all about my heart's passion of leading sacred circles. And I just want to start by saying that I'm going to be talking about these within the context of women's circles because that's what I lead. But this is absolutely something that groups of men do as well. And at the end, I'll actually be giving resources to everyone if you're interested in wanting to share with your clients, family members. If you're interested in these things, there are both men's and women's sacred circles kind of all over. So I'll give you some of those resources at the end. So hi, I'm Robyn. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a Reiki master, thanks to Emily. She is my Reiki master. So if anyone's curious about Reiki, she offers those certifications through Sage. But I've been, best known as the happy couple experts for a long time here in Orange County, working with couples. And about 2 years ago, I really transitioned into creating a space for women to connect in sacred circles, among other things. I also really, really love working with men to just help kind of get them out of their heads and into their bodies, to just kind of get to the root at what is keeping them stuck, what is keeping them successful in all these other places of their lives, yet feeling completely unfulfilled in their lives. So that's a lot of the work I do individually with men. And I'm a hiker. I love getting outside and going for hikes. I've hiked with some of you here today. So that kind of led me to start the Orange County Helpers and Healers Who Hike. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a Facebook group for that. And we'd love to have you. It's just another way, kind of like Emily created this space. It's another way to just network and get to know your fellow healers, but getting outside. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to share more about that. I'm an HSP, if you know what that is, highly sensitive person, which really led me to come up with a way to offer connecting out in, on the trail hiking. So if you are like me and you don't love showing up to in-person things, shoving a business card in people's hands, I love that you guys are all here and feel free to join us on a trail sometime. Also, I'm a lover of tacos, hugs, and all things masculine, feminine energy. I also love, if you guys have not heard of the podcast Hidden Brain, so many great things on there, so many great topics that are so relevant to what our clients are coming to us with. So it's called Hidden Brain. I think it's through NPR. It's a really great podcast I love to share with everyone. So that's a little bit about me. But if you're anything like me, you like to know what to expect in a presentation. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. We'll talk a little bit about what is sacred space and how to create it. I'm going to give you a very, very brief history on sacred space and sacred circles, because all of you have the capacity to go and Google and do your own research. So I'll just give you a little smidge. I'll share some examples of some modern sacred circles. And then I'll walk you through the flow and the format of how I run a sacred circle because I think it's helpful to see, what do other people do? What does this even mean to sit in a sacred circle and to be a part of gatherings? And then at the end, I'll give you some resources, like I said, of current sacred circles, either online, in person, for both men and women, because sometimes it's hard to find really good ones. So I want to make sure to get you that information. Okay, so what is sacred space? Or what does it even mean to be sacred? There's so many definitions out there. Sometimes you'll see things related to religion. Sometimes you'll see things related to the worship of gods and goddesses. I've heard it described as something or someone who is worthy of deep respect and devotion. But my most favorite definition of, what is sacred is something I heard Oprah say. So I love sharing this. She said, sacredness is when you hold whatever it is that you cherish most in the realm and space of truth. Because only things that are absolutely born of truth can truly be sacred. There is no difference between that which is sacred and that which is true. I love that. That hit my heart so hard when I heard it. And it just really helps me to envision sacredness. And so I wanted to give you examples of sacred spaces that I've created. And these are the two pictures that you see that are specifically for circles and gatherings. I do want to say, though, you can create sacred space anywhere. I have a little altar in my bedroom. You can create sacred spaces in your offices, which is really cool. If you check out the picture, it's on my right with the lighter background, that's a traveling altar, right? So you can take that and have it someplace cool in your car, in your office. It's a way to create your own sacredness. And so for me, what I consider sacred are any of the elements that make me feel good. And so you'll see in these pictures, there's things that are connected to nature, right? There's a large pine cone. I make sure to have some rocks in there. You can't see, but there is a picture. There's some wood in there. There's candles. So think about elements of the earth, cozy, soft blankets, because it just feels really good. There's also oracle cards on there. Again, everyone does these different. I love having oracle cards, either for the women attending to pull themselves, or when I'm doing these virtually, I will pull oracle cards for each woman attending. The most important part of creating sacred space, though, is your intention, right? So it's all about what's in your heart. And so I encourage anyone, and I do this myself, before you ever create a sacred space, putting your hands on your heart and asking two questions, which is, what is the purpose of this sacred space? And what needs to be a part of it? And then you just give yourself some time to be quiet and listen. And when I say listen, I mean watch. Are there images that come up? Do you hear someone's name, right? Like, oh, maybe I need a picture of this person, right? So I also, for me personally, I do not consider myself a religious person, but I absolutely consider myself spiritual. So what I will do is I will ask my spiritual team to come and help me create an energetic, safe, and clear space. And I will use these words very specifically. I will ask to please help to keep us safe, hidden, and protected from anything or anyone that is not for our best and highest good. So I personally will call in Archangel Michael, which to me is the angel of spiritual protection. I pull in my Reiki guides and I ask Spirit herself, like, hey, come join us, work through me, help me to be exactly what each of the women here needs tonight. And so I also will ask my spiritual team to connect with whoever's a part of the group to tap into their spiritual team and say, come on, come join us, come be a part of this, come add to the energy of that. So to me, that's what sacred space is. And those are just a few ways to create that sacred space. And I'll just give you, again, super brief history of Sacred Circle. We know that circles with a sacred center are the oldest form of social interaction, specifically with women. And usually they're gathering regularly based on lunar and menstrual cycles. But as you can see, I mean, there's been cave drawings and ceremonial relics that go back as far as 30,000 years, showing that people gathered in this way. Unfortunately, it was about 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. Again, this is based on the research I've done. 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, when that really started to change, things began to shift more toward a more linear way of connecting. And the best example I can think of is look at our classrooms. Classrooms are where people are lined up, linear, you're next to people, you're staring at the back of people's heads, and one person is just giving information. And everyone's doing their best to, jot things down. It's kind of like this setting right here, right? And it's very one way instead of sitting in circles where everyone's facing each other and asking questions, and you get to see each other's facial expressions. And I share this because this is such a rich opportunity to connect. And, when women were gathering, tribal women, communal women were gathering, they were usually intergenerational circles. So they were passing down, different rituals, ceremonies, traditions, culture. They were passing down how plants are our medicine, right? So, and this was all through storytelling. This was all through shares, usually around a sacred circle. So again, very brief history on sacred circles, but these have been around for ages. And it's been the goal to create connection and to allow the connection to kind of trickle down through the generations. And we have started to lose that a bit. So I want to show you examples of modern day circles. Has anyone ever heard of the red tent movement or the red tent ceremonies? No? So there was a book actually called The Red Tent. And what women kind of in the 80s started doing is they started saying, let's come together every time a young woman in our community starts her first period. And so they made it a beautiful ritual, a ceremony. It's an initiation into womanhood. And they called these the Red Tent gatherings. Now the picture here is one in LA like last year. So this is women of all ages. They will usually come the beginning of the lunar cycle. And it's really to come and just connect and to tell stories. And through those stories is where healing really, really, truly happens between women. It's where just this idea of feeling connected and feeling a part of is felt again. I will tell you, the women who are drawn to the gatherings that I hold and that I lead, that is one of the first things I hear from them is like, I just feel kind of lonely. I want a group of women where we can actually go deeper about things and we can talk about real stuff. And that's usually what happens at any kind of sacred circle, no matter what the particular topic is. So that's one example of modern day sacred circles. So I want to share some that I have done in different ways. So this is a picture, Emily's in there, I'm in there. This was from a full moon ceremony on Valentine's Day. Emily, I know you remember this. This was so fun. And this was done a couple years ago, I think, but it was with Emily's staff at Sage. So these are employees that are all together, that are all wanting to connect and sit in some kind of ritual. And so they asked me to come in and said, hey, will you lead us through a full moon ceremony? It was so fun. But what I wanted you to take a look at was I wanted you to see what's in this picture. There are oracle cards. I think we were having some wine that night, right? Like there are so many ways to create sacred circle. And this evening in particular, everyone was asked to, or invited to participate in releasing something as well. So for those of you who don't know, the full moon, the energy of a full moon is a perfect time to release things that no longer serve you. And so each person thought of, a thought, a feeling to release that night. But again, as you can see, like we're smiling, we're laughing. It's just a representation that one night there can be so many different experiences. There can be joys and there can be sorrows that are shared, while each woman individually has transformation as well as transforming as a group. And so that was a really beautiful and just fun experience. This, another example of my favorite kind of sacred circle to lead and to participate in, is called a release and reclaim ceremony. This is where either one or all the participants will bring a particular relationship. It can be a relationship to themselves that they would like to release, and to release it from a very loving space. And perhaps it's called release and reclaim because while you're releasing, you're also reclaiming parts of yourself that were probably disconnected from during a hurtful relationship, parts of yourself that were wounded. And so I apologize for the poor quality of this picture, but this is actually from my own release and reclaim ceremony. This is a really, I get kind of choked up. This was such a moving experience for me. This was after a painful ending of a relationship that I walked away from feeling completely shattered. And so I had asked some of my best girlfriends, Emily's there with the guitar. She had written a beautiful song. I mean, it was one of those times where I asked my women to gather around me. And each of them were also encouraged to bring something to release as well. But truly, they gathered around me in a time of deep, deep sorrow. But we shared food and we shared stories and we shared music. And our friend who led this gathering did Reiki on each of us. And so I wanted to not only share, but show you this can be really intimate. This can be incredibly connecting and healing for anyone who attends these. So I want to go through kind of quickly, basically the flow that I use when I'm running my women's gatherings. So right now we're all virtual, but I used to have them here in my office. They're beautiful. But right now, the way mine are set up is I have them at 6 weeks long. Like I said, they're virtual. They're 2 hours each. We meet via Zoom. It's capped at 6 women. I want to keep it really cozy. And each woman gets a welcome package that has all the materials that you're going to use for the entire 6 weeks, which includes a book and just other goodies. And my fee for this is $1,000 for the 6 weeks at 2 hours each. So I like to just be very transparent about this is how I do this. So here's the flow that we go through. First, we cleanse the energy. So depending on if we're in person or if we're virtual, I will cleanse the energy. Let me see if I have these little liquid smudge sprays. If I don't want to actually light a bundle of sage on fire and do the smoke that actually cleanses the energy. And the goal is really to cleanse the space of anything negative or disruptive. Next is a grounding exercise. So I'll lead the women through a grounding meditation. And a big part of that is not only to get them present in their bodies, but allow them to release whatever they've been carrying with them into the gathering that day, right? Most women have that running to-do list. I think we know that running to-do list. So it allows them to kind of set that on the shelf for a minute and just show up. Then I invite each woman to check in very briefly. And the invite is there something that you'd like to share and get support with, not advice? And so is there something that the women here can give you a blessing, give you words of encouragement, or just validate you in? And it can be celebratory. It can be a celebratory share, or it could be something that is a current challenge for them. Then I'll present the topic or the theme, and I usually introduce it into the meeting, usually using one of the books that guide us, as you'll see in the picture. Each woman usually brings a journal with her, and then we're guiding through on the book. And it's things like looking at the masks we wear in our lives, or the different roles that we step into daily, discovering stories or thoughts or beliefs that keep us stuck. These are just some of the topics. Then we move into the activity that is directly connected to the topic, and it's an experiential one. So examples are, we can do gentle body movements that released old stories. We can do contemplative journaling on really provocative, depth-oriented questions, or creating some art together. And then we share. Each person takes time to share her self-discovery, while other women are offering validation. They're usually affirming, they're usually nodding their heads and just really expressing an honor for the share. And then we wrap up, and in that wrap up, I'll usually pull an oracle card for each woman, or if we're in person, she'll pull her own card and kind of share what the message means to her. I'll lead them through a closing meditation. I'll thank our entire spiritual team, whoever showed up for joining us, and then we close the sacred circle. And then, of course, there's that ooey gooey feeling of bliss out. All the women talk about, God, it feels just so good to end the night this way. That's why groups are usually in the evening, because they just can feel so relaxed after this. And so these are just some examples. If you want to take a screenshot of this or write some of these down, these are some of my most favorite current online and in-person sacred circles for men and women. Of course, I put mine first. I've got some more gatherings starting in January. But the Global Sisterhood is a beautiful one I'm personally participating in. That's all online. It's for women all over the globe. It's beautiful, bringing women together. But I really wanted to share that we have some for men too. And I think it's a really important space for men to be in with other men, because as we know, while we are wounded in relationship, we're also healed in relationship. So if we can surround ourselves with healthy brothers and sisters, healthy community, I really think that's the way we heal. So take a look at some of those. These are some of my favorites, like I said, and I can always share this again. And just to wrap up, because time flies, holy smokes, that's it. And I wanted to just invite all of you to check out, I'm over at thewildgracecollective.com. I'm on Instagram. You can see where I'm sharing about our events, and our next 6-week gatherings start in January. And I can talk more about those, or if you want to email me, I can share with you exactly what, those are about. You can also get on my interest list, and I can let you know when we have events coming up.
Thank you for spending some of your time today with us at Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center. If you like what we're all about, please consider supporting our nonprofit organization by making a tax-deductible donation. To do this, you can go to our website at www.sagewellnessctr.org and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. We look forward to spending some time again with you real soon. Take good care.